Hello guys and gals, me Mudahar, and today we gotta talk about the old Reddit, ladies and gentlemen. The last time I covered Reddit, I had a fun time talking about r/art. I think some people were wild, okay, in the world of moderation. Today we're talking about all of Reddit, ladies and gentlemen, and why there is a massive protest and blackout happening. So where did the start of this nuke happen, ladies and gentlemen? On r/mod news 9 days ago. Hey there, mods. Hey, we're here with some updates on a few topics, on a few of the topics raised recently about Reddit's data API. So the TLDR, on July 1st, we will enforce new rate limits for a free access tier available to current users, including mods. We're in discussion with PushShift to enable them to support moderation access. Moderators of sexually explicit spaces, like r/cuckold, will have continued access to their communities via third-party tooling and apps. Okay, so some good capacities over there. So when it comes to academic and research access, we want to facilitate academic and other research that advances the understanding of Reddit's community ecosystem. Our expectation is that Reddit developer tools and services will be used for research exclusively for academic, non-commercial purposes, okay? And of course, ladies and gentlemen, going down, when it came to third update, the mature content, of course, as part of an ongoing effort to provide guardrails on how sexually explicit content and communities on Reddit are discovered and viewed, we will be limiting large-scale application access to sexually explicit content via our data API. So when it comes to third-party applications on Reddit, NSFW will not necessarily be available anymore, it seems. Now, to understand, there's been a few subreddits like r/PC Gaming, r/WoW, so on and so forth, that have pretty much gone up in arms. A lot of third-party developers have gone up in arms. And of course, Reddit's kind of caved in to an extent. On the 8th of June, literally yesterday, Reddit made an exception for accessibility apps. So for people that are suffering from, blindness or any form of disabilities that are using third-party applications to consume Reddit content, it doesn't seem like you're going to be hurt, according to, what's being reported over here. Now, to understand what the heck an API is, it's an application programming interface, ladies and gentlemen. And the reason why these exist is when you're interacting with an application, like on your cell phone or a third-party app, to a website like Reddit in this case, every single thing you do on that website is an API request. So when you're upvoting, downvoting, commenting, opening up pages, exploring the website and accessing its data, and then sending to it, you are doing an API request. You can imagine tons of these happen within seconds, all right, minutes. There are hundreds of API requests that you are sending behind the scenes. If you actually looked at the guts of a program and how it interacted with some of these websites, you would be shocked at how much traffic is going back and forth to keep the website running. All right. And in this case, when it comes to Reddit's mobile platform, Reddit has a weird situation where a lot of people actually use third-party applications. So to give you an idea, when you're browsing Reddit through the mobile platform, if it's an NSFW page or if it's, something different, the actual website, when you open up the web browser on your phone, it'll constantly pester you to use the Reddit app. Now, you can use the Reddit app, but there's also other applications like Apollo, which are used by a staggeringly high amount of people out there. So to understand, looking at just a small sample size, this is one captured from r/PC Gaming, where the PC Gaming guys were asked, where do you use Reddit? So 42% used old Reddit on the desktop, 15.6% used new Reddit. Now, of course, 15.1% used the official Reddit app on cell phones, but then 22% used a third-party application. Now, how much variance of which third-party application within this chunk is a different story. And of course, there are some people that use SexOS, but you get the idea. A very small amount of sickos use Reddit apparently through the mobile browser, but it's a different story. So a lot of people, according to this sample size of 2,500 people, are using Reddit on a third-party website that needs to have access to the API system. Now, what Reddit has done is obviously they started to charge for this API. And all of a sudden, applications like Apollo have pretty much told us that their price tag is going to be up to like $20 million a year. According to the Apollo developer, they had a call with Reddit to discuss the pricing for third-party apps, literally said they had to pay Reddit $20 million a year to keep running as it is. So according to that, Reddit reiterated that the price would be reasonable and based in reality, and they would not operate like Twitter, because Twitter was being publicly ridiculed for having absolutely obscene price tags for its API access. So for instance, Twitter, which was charging $42,000 for 50 million tweets, Reddit is still $12,000. For reference, I pay Imgur, a site similar to Reddit in user base and media, $166 for the same 50 million API calls. Now, of course, it's up to a company to decide how much they're going to be charging, but you can imagine that these massive price variances, maybe Reddit's taken people a bit too much down the path of actual monetary fisting. Now, you might be like, but Muda, they're using the Reddit API. Shouldn't they have to pay? Yeah, I think according to even the developers, they say that they're okay with paying for this, but all of a sudden, with the actual API pricing, the average user would cost $2.50, which is 20 times higher than a generous estimate of what each user brings Reddit in revenue. Literally, for third-party websites, these pricing are designed for them to be killed out. It's not designed for Reddit to play along with the third party. They don't give a shit about the third parties. They just want to cut you off completely. And if they make a few bucks along the way out of a few people willing to cling on to some hope, that's all they're looking for. At the end of the day, Reddit is basically going public, from what it seems, in like the next part of this year, 2023. So if they go public, they obviously want to have a high valuation. And the other thing is they want people to be corralled into using their official applications and not third-party applications whatsoever. Now, this backlash has caused so much problems within Reddit that apparently 3,500 subreddits that we know so far are actually going to go inaccessible. Mostly because they don't approve of this API change whatsoever. Now, to understand, some of these include the most popular communities imaginable. So r/gaming, r/music, r/pics. I can tell you right now, 75% of my Reddit is r/gaming, okay? If I can't access r/gaming, I have no reason to connect to Reddit, okay? That's pretty much what it comes down to. If I can't go on r/Linux gaming, there's no need for me to ever use Reddit again. Reddit, like a lot of social media services, are built upon the backs of the community producing the content for them. The moment you step in between the creator and the content and the distributing it, that's when things all start to go out of nowhere. Reddit would be worth fucking nothing if it wasn't for the constant user base that it has, and the user base being able to share whatever they wanted. Honestly, I know that some people will say that maybe it's not up to Reddit to burden the cost, but then again, if Reddit wants to have this high valuation, this is basically, if you think about it, just the cost of doing business. What's even wilder is like literally 9 days ago on Reddit Dev, which is a discussion of the Reddit API, one of the developers, one of the admins, literally came out and started throwing shade over Apollo, one of the largest applications in regards to this. So they described how pricing works. Pricing is based on API calls that reflect the cost to maintain the API and other related costs, engineering, legal, etc. This cost Reddit on the order of double-digit millions to maintain annually for large-scale applications. The pricing is 24 cents per 1,000 API calls, which equates to less than $1 per user monthly for a reasonably operated app. However, not all apps operate this way today. For example, Apollo requires 345 requests per user per day, while with a similar number of users and more comments and vote activity per user, the Reddit is Fun app averages around 100 calls per user per day. Apollo as an app is less efficient than its peers. So again, they gave you an example of stuff over here. Even the Apollo dev came into the situation and started fact-checking Reddit engineers. As I asked before, could you please clarify what efficiencies Apollo is experiencing versus other apps? If I inspect the network traffic of the official app, I see a similar amount of API use as Apollo. If you're sharing how much API we use, would you also share how much you use? I browsed 3 subreddits, opened about 12 posts collectively, and I'm at 154 requests in 3 minutes in the official app. It's not hard to see that in a few more minutes, I would hit 3, 4, 500. And of course, they also provided the proof right over here, ladies and gentlemen, of all these goddamn requests that are going through for them. Now, of course, when you've got third-party developers and first-party developers shitting on each other across the entire internet, that's when things get fucking hazy. This is like network this is like network admin drama at this point, dude. It's fucking wild. But let's not stop, ladies and gentlemen, because apparently there were claims of blackmail. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, Apollo apparently had allegations of blackmail towards them when they were talking about these developer fees. It's to a point where the call was recorded and, of course, transcripted Yeah, we're actually recording calls and sharing them with the world. Transparency is key, ladies and gentlemen. So this is where the developer Apollo says, I could make it really easy for you. If you think Apollo's costing you $20 million a year, cut me a check for $10 million, and we can both skip off into the sunset. 6 months of use, we're good, that's mostly a joke. Reddit says, 6 months of use? What do you mean? I know you said that was mostly a joke, but I want to take everything you're saying seriously just to make sure I'm not. What are you saying? What are you referring to? And then, of course, the developer says, if Apollo costs you $20 million at the 7 billion requests in API volume, if that's your yearly opportunity cost, cut that in half, say for 6 months, Bob's your uncle. Reddit says, you cut out right at the end. I'm not asking you to repeat yourself for a third time. Obviously, the call wasn't perfect. And then, of course, the developer clarifies, no, I'm sorry, one more time. I was just saying if the opportunity cost is $20 million a year, that's a yearly, apparently ongoing cost to you folk. If you want to rip that Band-Aid off once and have Apollo quiet down, 6 months, basically turn the application off. Beautiful deal. Again, this is mostly a joke. I'm just saying if the opportunity cost is that high, and if that is something that could make it easier on you guys, that could happen too. As is, it's quite difficult. And Reddit here in the call mentions, it sounds like a threat. And of course, at this moment in time, ladies and gentlemen, even the developers trying to fix it up. Even Reddit says, yeah, that's a complete misinterpretation on my end. And they were backing down. Obviously, this went from a developer that had cordial conversations to a fucking this is like the exact burning of a bridge right over here. There was no blackmail. There was just a misunderstanding. Ladies and gentlemen, Reddit is pretty much confirmed to be on this path. Even the other application they mentioned, Reddit is Fun, is shutting down June 30th because of those API changes. Because they said the Reddit API will cost money, and the pricing announced today will cost apps, like Apollo, $20 million per year. RIF may differ, but it would be in the same ballpark. And no, RIF does not earn anywhere remotely near this number. Again, these changes were designed to gut the third party out, not to work with them. As part of this, they are blocking ads in third-party applications, which make up the majority of RIF's revenue. Meanwhile, Reddit's official app still continues to make the vast majority of its money from ads. Removal of sexually explicit material from third-party apps while keeping set content in the official app. So again, for the coomers out there that wanted to use third-party applications because they provided a genuinely better experience, well, if you want to jerk off, you're going to need to be using the official Reddit app if you're going to your risque subreddits, okay? One of the big issues is not so much if this app can survive, it's that Reddit isn't even apparently giving applications, third-party ones, the ability to change or like at least adapt. So here they say in the real issue, even more than the large price associated, the $20 million, the 30-day timeline, which, yeah, only 30 days to make any changes, is a far bigger issue than, and not one that this guy can overcome. So what's effectively happened over here, much more time needs to be done to overhaul the payment model, transition existing users, test changes, and have people update the application through the storefront. As a comparison, he mentions when Apple bought Dark Sky, they announced a shutdown of their API. Knowing that this API was at the core of many businesses, they provided 18 months before the API would be turned off. When the 18 months came, they ultimately extended it another year, resulting in a total transition period of 30 months. Reddit is giving this guy 30 fucking days. Reddit says you won't get your first bill until August 1st, though. The issue is the size of the bill, not when it will arrive. Yeah, exactly. If you know that your goddamn bill is going to be this massive, what the fuck does it matter if they're going to tell you it's coming in like 2 months or 3 months? You're going to have to pay them this insane amount anyways. So in general, what's the problem is those third-party applications are going to be so expensive that they won't be operating anymore, and you'll have to basically be forced to use the actual Reddit app. At the crux of all this, what you have to understand is at the end of the day, third-party applications might just choose to die out if Reddit sticks to this hill. Which means that at the end of the day, your only experience will be with the actual Reddit app, and whether that's a good quality for you, it's not gonna matter. It's your only stopgap. Because if you're not using the actual Reddit app, you're pulling your hair out using their mobile website anyways. Now, of course, for individuals that are moderating, you have to understand that moderators on Reddit effectively work entirely for free too. You're telling me that their free job, their like slave labor is going to be harder because you're actually hurting access to their moderation tools is a whole extra layer of shit on top of shit. And of course, what's happened is an open letter. Part of this initiative includes a potential subreddit blackout, which we talked about, lasting 24 to 48 hours. And of course, on one hand, it's great to hopefully make enough of an impact to influence Reddit to change their minds. On the other hand, again, some of these organizations usually stay out of these blackouts. And again, they won't want to hurt their own subreddits if they just quiet down, especially during one of the highest event cycles for Reddit. Now, ladies and gentlemen, a lot of these people have agreed to it. A lot of these people will be part of it. And whether this blackout is enough to convince Reddit, this is actually one change that's fucking way worse than what Twitch just did, okay? Because what Reddit's out to do is, again, focus on their own valuation. They're able to focus on you getting onto their application. They give no shits about your experience as a content creator on their platform using third-party applications. And here's the thing. It's not about just having free access. It's about having an actual payment. It's about actually having a bill that makes sense. Clearly paying $20 million a year to run a third-party application that doesn't generate nearly enough revenue to make it worth it is, again, not a sign that Reddit wants to work with you. Reddit wants to just shut off every third-party app they have. It's been a thorn in their ass so far and so on. And all this bullshit about inefficiencies, problems, it's really just that Reddit wants to corral you into their ecosystem completely, ignoring just the monetization benefits of it. They want you in their system so they can hopefully sell that to a bunch of investors around the world. That's at least my theory. But that said, the Reddit API blackout is here. And I wanted to talk about it because it's a pretty big deal to me. I like Reddit. I want Reddit to survive. But if administration is making dipshit moves like this can actually cause the website to die. All right? Because if a lot of people, according to these sample sizes, are using third-party applications, award-winning third-party applications, that probably should be two things for Reddit. It should show you the size and scale of the community that they are fucking with. And then it should also show them how terribly awful they are when providing a service to use their website in comparison to the other developers that don't make nearly enough producing these third-party applications for the average individual. So ladies and gentlemen, that being said, let me know what you think about it in the comment section below. This is me, Mudahar, and if you like what you saw, please like, comment, and subscribe. I am out.